Já, ok, þannig að við gætum komið á einhver svona skipulagi þar sem við gætum hringt og fengið bara þá ekki verið bara svartur kaffibóll.
Já, það sko þannig hérna.
Og þetta kaupan á þér?
Við gefum það sko svona.
Það væri rosalega, við aðeins hugsa þetta, það væri svo gaman að reyna að gera skemmtilegt. Nú er svo skemmtilegt safn, svo fallegur stað og við erum alltaf að keyra hér hringinn frá Dettifoss og niður í Ásbyrgi. Það væri svo gaman að koma hér aðeins við áður.
Syndaði skuli aldrei hafa komið fyrir en núna.
Já, það eiginlega þannig.
So how old is the house?
Hvað húsið gamalt?
Það 1930 byggt.
It's built in 1930s, so 1930s, yes.
But it was transported, you said, from...
Yes, it was moved from Húsavík.
Já.
You gifted it from Húsavík.
Já.
So he bought it from Húsavík and put it back here in 1997 to put all his belongings in.
Which is heritage from turn of the century?
Heritage of turn of the century, something he has collected. Þú hefur verið að safna þessum gripum.
Já.
Og eitthvað þá arfgripir og fleira slíkt.
Það nú lítið.
It's not that much of family heritage, it's something he has been collecting and found, of course.
Þeim fyrir mikið antíkmarkið.
Já.
Og ég hefði að segja þessar spýtur hérna þó það séu ljótar, þá er það svo merkilega fyrir það maður veit söguna. Þetta sandskip sem var að koma til landsins með sandfarm og var að leita sigluheilar.
He's telling why these, I mean, even though these wood piles are not in essence good looking or anything like that, but they're very important because they come from a salt ship.
Og það rakst á hafísjakka hérna út austur af Vánareyjum.
It crashed on an iceberg outside of
the island. Og þeir eru að fara inn til Húsavíkur. Þeir komist ekki nema vestur á Lundi þá sökka.
So the ship tried to go to Húsavík, but it sank here, not far from the beach.
In what year?
Svo 1902.
1902.
Og hann eitt sjómarhús sem leggur stundum onni, hann veit alveg hvað þetta er.
There's a fisherman from Húsavík that puts his nets around it and sometimes catches things from the ship into his nets. Veistu hvað djúpt er á skip?
120 faðmar.
120 faðmar?
Ég held að frekar 120 metrar.
More than 120 meters deep, so hard to dive down.
What's the most interesting thing that's been brought up from the nets?
Hvað myndir segja, hefur eitthvað merkilegt komið upp með?
Nei, ekkert,
bara
timbur.
Only the timber. Yet.
Þetta fann ég ekki í vetur, þetta er rannsóknartæki hérna frá Bretlandi.
Nei.
Ég ekki búinn að segja frá því.
No Icelandic diamonds?
Ég fá allt maður segja frá einhverju.
He says this is some kind of research tool from England and he hasn't told them yet that he found it because they will probably want it back. So don't put that out too much on the internet.
Ég svo helvíti skemmtilegt hérna.
Hvað í þessu?
Ég veit það ekki.
He has no idea what's inside.
Eitthvað rannsóknartæki sko. Þetta á ég eftir að láta það hafa þetta. Ekkert að flýta með það. Ég hérna fyrir svo helvíti skemmtilegt fyrir 2 ára síðan hérna. Það var amerískt. Og það var sett niður undir íshelluna norðan við Norðurpólinn. Þau boruðu sko niður og settu þetta niður.
He found, was it síðast ári?
Nei, það er 2 ára síðan.
2 years ago, he found an item here in his beach, a research tool that was drilled underneath the ice cap of the North Pole. So around the North Pole itself, it was drilled underneath. That's where they lost it, or it's kind of trapped in the ice. And then, of course, the ice cap turns it around, lost at sea, and turned up in his beach.
Þetta var svona dálítið svert svona og svona eitthvað plast utan og það var svo mikið ísbjörni sækja svo ég geta þetta. Það var mikið ísbjörnar nag og bit á þessu. Þess vegna vildi ég mega þetta.
So he says it was very interesting, especially because the polar bears had been sort of scratching on it or at least trying to chew on it as a tool or something like that. That's why he wanted to keep it, because it has the mark of the polar bears playing with it as a toy.
Ég vildi fá þetta sem.
But the scientist, it was a US-based scientist, they wanted to get it back, so he had to give it back to them. So this time I reckon he won't tell them about what he got.
Já, rólegur með þetta.
Should we take a look at the other house? Já, fara að kíkja á.
Já, við gerum það.
So one just really quick question.
Ein spurning, segir hún.
So for farmers, why, see how those are into the plastic, which is all over Iceland?
Why?
Why do they do that? I haven't seen that before.
It's because we have to feed our sheep during the whole winter. and we round up the hay in bales. So this is the only way to preserve the hay on the outside. So
to keep them protected.
Yes, of course, because if you have moisture within the hay, it would mold and become bad.
But why not put it in the barns?
Because the barns are simply very expensive to build, and because of the very moisture air, humid air here, it's hard to dry the hay enough to be able to store it that way. By putting it into the hay bales, we don't have to dry it as much, which means we lose less nutrients, which means you have more nutrients per kilo of grass. Yes.
That makes sense.
Yes, it makes sense.
Okay. Wow. This house is absolutely so charming. Barely a sound except for the birds and an occasional move from a cow. And this is the inside of the museum, which is a collection of his own collection over time. And these plates in here were actually painted by the Japanese. And if you can actually see, there's a little card in there. It's kind of hard to see. There's a postcard to the left, and that was from 1918, and the postcard that was used to go back to Japan to paint the pictures of the waterfalls here in Iceland in 1918. This is the downstairs of the museum. Just sort of get a sense. And it's hard to really get a sense of just how small the museum really is. This was actually the first real bit of Iceland culture I've gotten since I arrived in the country. We're just going to go for a quick look into the kitchen, which is so incredibly charming. It reminds me of my grandmother's kitchen, and there's just a little bit of everything in here. And a collection of teapots, which was a very, very prized possession in the beginning, the turn of the century. And I don't know if you can see just how many teapots here. The one in the corner, which was also in the 19-teens, this is actually the most valuable teapot of the lot, if you can actually see them. Most of these are actually English teapots. Coffee was also a prized possession. And here you can see a little bit from that. It was quite expensive back then when you were a poor farmer, and something that you cherished. And then there's this old, incredibly amazing stove here that looks like it's in really good condition. I can't see if there's actually a year on it, but we can ask and we can find out. This is painted. There's lots of blues, grays, and greens in here. And now we're going to go for just a quick look. There's Húsavík, which we're going to next. That's a picture of Húsavík. Obviously that's from the 1950s. And we're just going up here. Now we're getting into mustard yellows. This is like the house that I grew up in, where all the slanted walls and slanted ceilings. And this is where they put the single beds for the kids. We have a picture of it. Looks like Jesus to me. And this is just amazing in here. It's just something that I can't possibly even imagine to capture with still photography. more slanted walls and even ceilings actually, which is hard to get a sense of that here. And then there's actually still 2 more rooms, hard to imagine, but there's actually, this place is really, really small from the outside, but it's amazing what they've actually managed to fit in here.
Hello.
And this is a match collection. And there's dolls, and this is a Christmas tree with an Icelandic flag and a collection of chocolate bar wrappings. And there's Anton.
Hey, nice to meet you.
Hi. And then we're going into the bathroom, which has got to be the cutest bathroom that you've ever seen. I don't know if we can get some light. Okay, for the Ajax there, folks, that was not there in the turn of the century, nor was it there in the 1930s.
No.
So this is actually a usable bathroom, it looks like.
Let's see. Seems to be.
So usable bathroom. Okay, and we're signing off. Wait, Anton, you got to say goodbye to the camera.
Bye. Goodbye.
Okay,
Yes, you use that.
reporting from Northern Iceland.
Yes.